Welcome to the Copper State Marching Podcast, sponsored by the Arizona Marching Band Association. My name is Martin Hebda. I'm excited to be here. This is the start of season 5. Matt, good to see you.
Yeah, season five getting going again. We're real excited to bring more content to you guys. Season four was fantastic with just like so much information, and we were putting out like weekly podcasts for everybody. So we're definitely ready to get back into it and just bring some stuff. We have with us to start the season. Our guest today is just pretty much revolutionized the learning drill and how to incorporate some technology into your rehearsals. So Luke Gall from UDB, welcome. Thanks for coming on today.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a really exciting time. Really glad to be here and excited to help you guys kick off the next season.
So this UDB, just for anybody who doesn't know what it is, just tell us a little bit about what it does. I mean, we both know, but from your perspective, what's the goal? What's the mission? What can UDB do for programs?
Sure. So, just real quick, UDB is a tool for marching arts ensembles. And our goal we actually started with books, hence the name Ultimate Drill Book is actually, the original name of the company and the product. Our goal is just to make the learning process easier. We know when we're learning drill for the very first time, we're essentially learning a new language, longitude, latitude, GPS-like coordinates for a football field. There's a lot going on. And we thought about that as teachers. That freshman who's doing band for the first time, there's a lot to take in. So we just wanted to make that process easier. So we started with books, and the idea was just to make it a little bit more visual and a little bit more mathematics. So, a student who really can understand numbers, let's give them more numbers. Let's give them more things where they can understand what it's like to move around on a football field. And for the student who's just trying to survive, if they just know, hey, I go that way and then I go that way, it's going to make it a bit easier for them. So it's really just to lower the barrier of entry to getting into the marching arts. And then for educators, it's just giving more information to them. We think a lot about this like a textbook. We go into math class, we go into science class, we're delivered a textbook. We're kind of given our Bible, so to speak, of information. We didn't really feel like we had that for marching band. And so we wanted to start to create that on the visual side of things. Of course, this goes many layers deeper, but from the beginning, our line has been, it's just easier. We're just trying to make everything easier for bands. And that has kind of, trickled into many other things that we do now. But at the core of what we've always done is just try to make the drill learning and cleaning process easier.
Yeah, well, we've been using it at Campo Verde here for years, and it is so much easier. I was a little hesitant at first. I think a lot of directors are. They're just like, oh my gosh, are my kids going to be on their phones the whole time, whatever. And we can talk about like the things that you've built into to the app as far as like making sure that doesn't happen. But I think the how fast. I mean, kids they just use their phones so fast, and when they're on their phone, they understand how to navigate things so much better. And so we've gotten to the point where, the beginning of the season, it's a little slower, of course, as always, but man, like mid-season, we're learning 19, 20 pages a night, when we're doing our drill, just because they can see their halfway points, they can see their routes, they can see what the shape looks like. So it definitely is so much faster.
Well, it's one of those things. So, jumping right into it, the marching arts is a physical activity. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to, one, get it right, and then two, teach our students to do it right again and again and again. So we're trying to replicate the appropriate effort, the right thing. So the faster we can actually get to doing it correctly, the faster we can get to actually reinforcing it. And that's one of the things that's like a little different than many other disciplines. Like it is okay to fail, it's okay to do it wrong, but in marching arts, we need to do it right quickly because we're trying to build the right muscle memory. So if we build the wrong muscle memory, then we're actually hurting ourselves. And so that's where more information becomes helpful. Like you mentioned a halfway point. We didn't invent the halfway point. We just tried to make it easier to
Easier, yeah.
to access. We didn't invent the pathway. We just wanted to give that out early. So the more students are actually really smart, and we can actually give them more information up front. So the earlier that they can build the right muscle memory, the greater chance we have kind of at the end of the season. And I think that's one of the things that have kind of flipped for a lot of people is understanding that like, yes, we can scaffold things, but we also need to make sure that we're scaffolding the correct things because if we spend 5 reps doing the wrong muscle memory, we kind of have wasted 5 reps ultimately
Yeah,
because we're going to tell them to do something different beyond that. So our goal is to kind of accelerate getting to the right rep, if you will.
for sure.
So when you dreamed this up in your head, were you a marcher, a performer, or were you instructing, or maybe a little bit of both? What part in your journey did you start thinking about this?
Yeah, so I grew up in the band room. My dad was a band director. I've got 3 brothers. We're all musicians. My mother also is a musician. My parents actually toured in a band in like the late 70s and early 80s.
Love it.
And then they started having kids. Um, and so music is in our blood. So to answer your question, I grew up in marching band. I grew up in drum corps. So living in the band room, I started marching drum corps my 8th grade year. And so I marched 5 years of drum corps before I left high school. And even my high school senior season, I wrote the drill and the music for our marching band show. Many people assume that we came from like a big band with a lot of resources. It's actually the opposite. I think my band size was 32 my senior year of high school. My dad was the sole band director in the county when he was starting the whole band program. He was also the volleyball coach and the bus driver. So, I mean, like, we came from a small town with really not a lot of resources. So the point is that we had to be very resourceful and very scrappy with everything that we did. So having gone through drum corps and then gone through that high school experience and then beginning to write drill and like teach marching band after high school, it was like there's gotta be a better way. I mean, I made my own dot books in drum corps. I went to FedEx, right? And I got pages printed and color coordinated, and I used to bring little self-laminating sheets to drum corps. And it was just kind of fascinating that we weren't ever really handed this thing. It was like, hey, here's this thing that's been around for almost 50 years, but we're still kind of like having to go to Walmart and find a dot book and all this kind of stuff and find pages. So it just felt like this really obvious thing for me and my brother Josh, who co-founded this together. We said, let's just like start this. Let's just start making books. So that's really where it started. We just honestly went to FedEx and we printed books for people. Um, we like printed our own dot books, and then we would take the drill from Pieware and we put it into like a drill book, and that's where
Mhm.
we could take the drill and kind of format it. And that's where we actually got into the software for the first time. So we would take these like exports from Pieware, and then we developed a piece of software. And by developed, I mean we paid someone like $300 to develop a piece of software that we could like reorganize PDFs essentially. So we'd take a PDF file and we'd say, hey, we want this part and this part and this part, and we reorganize it into a new page. And then that's what we would actually send over to like FedEx Kinko's at the time. I don't think Kinko's is around anymore, but we take it over to Kinko's, we put it on CD drives, and they'd print it out for us, and then we'd organize it and we'd send it off to bands. So
So you're
that's
clearly
where,
not a drummer, is what you're saying.
yeah, I'm a euphonium player. Actually, my euphonium's in the background right here. Yeah, I'm a low brasser for life.
What
But
part of the country are you from?
we're from Virginia, so Central Virginia, right outside of Richmond. So grew up on the East Coast, and yeah, so like marching drum corps, I marched Jersey Surf, I marched Crossmen when they were still on the East Coast, and then cadets. So
Nice.
kind of did the whole East Coast tour there.
What year cadets?
I was cadets '07 through '09.
Nice.
And yeah, so my age out was 2012, but actually Josh and I founded Ultimate Drill Book in 2010. So I did the 5 years throughout high school, and then I actually stopped marching drum corps to pursue UDB and to pursue, like I started writing drill.
Hmm.
And so like throughout college, I was building my drill writing business and choreography, and I was in it, right? Just doing everything I could, and that's how Josh and I actually funded UDB. We
So
have one.
when you went to drum corps and you did all these pages and stuff, did people were like all the members around you like, dude, we got to get a hold of that, or were they making fun of you?
No, no, they definitely were like a little jealous.
Okay,
Because like
that's
I
good.
had by my fifth year, I had color coordinated all of my pages, right? So I had like orange was the opener, blue was the ballad, green was the closer, so on and so forth. And then I made my own coordinate sheet kit. So once like it was locked, I would write the coordinates on a sheet, I'd self-laminate them, and then that's what I'd wear on me during ensemble. Because instead of flipping through a huge book, I just need to double check my coordinate. I don't need to see the shape. I don't need to see all these things. I need that quick reference.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, people were kind of like, "Where do I get that?" And I was like, "Well, I just made it." Um, so
And then
anyway,
here we are.
yeah, so that's where it all started. Is just Josh and I trying to solve a problem. And it was for the bands. Like the first bands that used it were bands that we were writing drill for,
Mhm.
and things like that. So, of course, it's really hard to condense 16 years into 30 seconds, but
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of really natural stair stepping along the way as we got to the app and stuff. Because we had one client our first year, we had three our second year. I mean, this was not a booming thing
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
a long
Well,
time.
now it's huge. So you still offer, I think there's a school in my district that still does the printed books
hmm
that they can, and I think do people just send you drill and then you print out books, or do they have to write in them? I'm not really sure how that works, but you still offer printed books, yes?
Yeah, most all of them are dot books. So most people aren't, there's no like pre-printed drill books that we do anymore. And
Mhm.
that's actually my favorite way of learning. So if I'm working with a group or something like that, I'm doing the app in tandem with the books,
Mhm.
because science and research confirms that when a student not only has the right information, but they have to engage with it in a new way. So if they're writing it in a book, things like that, they will retain it better. Like scientifically, it's a fact. And
Yeah.
so a lot of groups still use that book. So students have that kind of resource that they've created themselves. It's like creating a study guide, essentially. So it's mostly blank dot books. We offer custom layouts. So everyone can kind of design their own thing, but we've got a couple standard ones.
Yeah, and then of course just the app itself that we use, it just has so many features. One of the things that I love that's I think pretty new is the listening environments, and you guys have done all of the science and research about sound waves and how far they travel and everything. And I can't wait because we upgraded this year. We're going to be doing the pro version, and I can't wait to utilize that because students on the field, they'll know if we're in the green, we can listen back. If we're in the yellow, we got to be kind of cautious, and if we're in the red, then we can't listen. That's kind of the gist of that, right?
Yeah, yeah. One of the greatest joys that we've had is being able to be a part of ensembles all around the world. I mean, we of course work with bands in every state in the United States, but we're also in Europe, we're in Asia and Japan, we're in South America. And the reason I mention those things because we find common denominators between all of these ensembles. And one of those is like how do we handle timing? Even
Mm,
the best educators in the world still have to figure that out. It's you can go off feelings and vibes and experience to an extent, but there is an actual mathematical solution to this, which is, hey, if you're this far away, if you listen, you will be out of time. And so as we've like gone through all these experiences and been connected with all these ensembles, things that have always felt second nature to us, we realize aren't second nature to everyone else. And so can we just build something that helps that? So for you as an educator, I mean, you all are band directors. It's like the last thing you're thinking about going into rehearsals, like who is supposed to be listening? You're like, this person's missing. The vibe wheel broke. My staff member is hasn't showed up today, or whatever the case is. Like you all are superheroes. Like you are changing the world every single day. And I'm really not trying to be overly cheesy about it. So the thought is like, can you open the app and like have less to worry about? Like, can the listening zone be there and you can be like, hey, flutes, raise your hand. You can't listen here. Like, can you just have
mhm.
that presented to you? And it's the same thing for the students. Can they understand that? So yeah, that's one of those things where it's just like an aha moment. if I can just be in the green and know that I can listen, hey, I'm outside of it. Yeah, just get on the hands. Those kinds of things, like it's amazing how much friction we can remove if we just display something,
Yeah.
as simple as that sounds.
What are some of the other things like what's another nugget of that of the app that's kind of new that that maybe some people that have used it before would be surprised by that's coming out either coming out now this summer because I know there's kind of a big release or just recently.
Yeah, I mean, the entire ethos of what we've been building for 16 years, but specifically the last decade as it relates to things like ARC and whatnot, which we can talk about, are how all the different pieces of your ensemble or your school experience, how can they all come to the same place? So like one of the things I love that's relatively new is pairing attendance with the drill chart. So we've all been in that moment where it's like, hey, what's going on right there? Is that a hole or is someone missing that whole thing? And you realize that when you're looking at your drill chart, or say you're in a rehearsal, you're looking at your score, you need your score or your drill chart to accurately reflect what's going on in that moment. So when you can take attendance via geo and you can pair that on top of the drill chart, then we can hide students who are not there at rehearsal. So you know whether that's a hole on the field or someone's just has the wrong interval. And so instead of you guessing and giving wrong information, you can know you're giving the right information because, hey, they're hidden from the drill chart. I know they're not there. So I think the magic stuff to me still is like looking at an updated drill chart and be like, oh yeah, that's where the holes are. That's where
Yeah.
people are missing.
So that geo. So let's talk about that really quick. This ARC system that you guys really just came out with recently includes Geo and StrideTV and Beam and
Mhm.
UDB. And Geo is the app for attendance taking and calendaring and things like that. So if I take because I downloaded the app yesterday. So well, this is now June 30th, but I downloaded the app and I've been toying around with it a little bit. If I mark somebody absent on the app, then like, does it recognize that on my tablet at rehearsal and my visual staffs and every? I mean, it basically like cloud says this person's not here right now, so they don't show up on UDB.
Exactly. So you can choose whether they show up or not. Like that's, of course, your choice. But yes, so when we started working on ARC about a decade ago is really when we started all of this. The spirit was, I mean, okay, us on this call, we grew up or we're becoming adults or we're adults during the time of like Apple and Google really defining what it's like to be in the 21st century of technology. And we realized that that didn't really exist for the arts. It still kind of doesn't exist for the arts. Like I can sign in with Google everywhere, I can sign in with Apple everywhere, but that information doesn't travel with me where I go inside of, let's say, the school or my arts ecosystem. That's why we created Arc. And so when you log in with your Arc account and you are marked absent in Geo, we know that in UDB and we know that in Beam and vice versa. So yes, when a student is marked absent, you can hide them from the drill chart. Your staff can hide them from the drill chart. When they are there, you can see who's there. Or, hey, you're working with just the wind ensemble today. You can hide every other person that's not in the wind ensemble, and you can look at just the wind ensemble on the field. So this is like just scratching the surface, but when everything is kind of living in the same place, it allows you to have more structured and like more focused rehearsals and stuff like that. And like even like tapping on a performer and seeing their picture and their name. I mean, you know what it's like being on the tower and being like, "Hey, yellow shorts, move to the left." Like, and it feels awful to not call a student by their name, but you can't see who they are. Or maybe they're a freshman and you're just learning their name for the very first time. It's so much more impactful and meaningful to say, "Hey, Sarah, can you move a little bit to your right?" That kind of thing. So it's
Yeah.
all those little things that we know matter, and we've been on the field, and in the tower trying to solve those problems. So we kind of solve our own problems. That's kind of where we start with things.
Well, I love the efficiency of this for sure because having an efficient rehearsal is kind of the most important thing. My story a little bit is we have not used UDB yet at my school, but about a month ago, we made the decision to use UDB. And even a year before that, my son came back from drum corps having used it for the first time. And Dad, man, this thing's awesome. You got to use this. Check this out. And he's bringing me my phone and showing me all these different options. He uses it, I believe, in his indoor percussion as well. So we've made the decision, and I had like some conversation with other directors. I've never talked to a director that's just like, I used it, I'm not anymore, or I wish I wouldn't have. So a lot of times I'm a little bit slower on getting on the ball with this, and I think I definitely am now. So I'm pretty much looking forward to this. But I think this would be a good opportunity because I'm still learning a little bit of the process of, okay, I'm getting this right now. I'm getting started with UDB. What are some of the steps that I want to do? Because I know there's going to be, I'm not the only director that says, okay, this is going to be good for my program. What's kind of that process after they've done that and they're getting things going?
Yeah, well, first the cool thing is, well, first, thanks for joining. I'm excited to get to work with you, and please send me your address. I want to send you some swag to your
Oh,
kid.
cool.
So,
Okay.
thanks, give him a little thanks for that. But the cool thing is about not only UDB, but just technology in general is the students and the kids, like they're on it. Like they know the second when you give them an app, like they will begin poking around and figuring things out. So I think one of the coolest parts or like side effects of this are students are genuinely curious about the stuff that they're using. Um, and like I can tell you, we can see like basic data usage. I mean, we log on and we can see at 3 a.m. people were watching the animation of drill. Like I'm not lying to you. Like I mean, our user has spent thousands of hours in the app by 5 a.m. just looking at things. And I only bring that up to begin answering your questions because students are genuinely curious. They are excited to have something that's built for them. So I think there's like a level of just like putting it in their hands and letting them experience it is just like an awesome way to get started because they will get genuinely, if they click play, they watch the animation, they're going, whoa, I didn't realize we're going to do this thing. And before you know it, they're learning drill and they're like, hey, is this the part where we like do the box rotation? You're like, oh my gosh, thank you for saying that. Like, you know what I mean? Like you are aware. So I think at the very beginning, it is definitely nice to be structured, but I think there's just a level of like, just give it to your students a week before you're going to learn drill and just let them play around with it. And then as you get into it, certainly we have like a lot of tutorials and stuff like that. We do have a great team that can provide training and things like that, that can get everyone on the same page. But I would say, in terms of getting started, I think it comes down to you as a director deciding how you want to modify your process. Because you can do the exact same thing you've done before and it'll be better because it'll happen faster. But I think it comes down to saying like, hey, how can I just like start to level up what I do? So like one of the things like very simple is like yard line crossing counts. Traditionally, you have to do like 2 or 3 reps to find out what your yard line crossing counts are, and then you say, hey, let's start thinking about that. But if you do that on the very first rep, like one of the exercises I love is having students accent their yard line crossing counts. So like before even marching the very first time, say it's an 8 count set, I say, I want you to raise your hand if you cross the yard line on 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, I go through all the counts. I have the students raise their hands, and then I have them accent the yard line crossing counts on that very first rep. So subconsciously, they know, hey, I'm crossing on count 3. Guess what they're going to try to do on count 3? Get to that yard line. And if they get to that yard line on count 3, they've got the right step size, they've got the right pathway, and they're reinforcing the right behavior on the very first rep. So I think it comes down to like, use our training materials. We've got great videos. We've got a great team if you want to do individual training. But like, think about the things that you can begin to sprinkle in. You know that elevates your learning process. And I would say that it's not like you don't want to throw the kitchen sink at them. I say you start trickling a couple things. And Matt, you mentioned this at the beginning. Your first 5 drill sets will probably go a little slower. You're going to be
Mm.
like, it's a little slower, it's a little more thorough, and then the curve hits. And then every student knows. what it's like to learn drill. They know to point to the pathway. They need to check their yard line crossing counts. They check what their address point is. They look at their measure numbers. They watch the animation. They see how things form. Kids' brains are amazing. They are amazing, and they are ready to absorb. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but let them play with it, and then you, as an educator, just pick one or two things that you just want to start to sprinkle in, and then you will also begin to accelerate what you sprinkle in as you go.
Yeah, and also like just the starting process, Martin, is super easy. Just your drill writer, gets a code when they're done with movement one, for example. Our drill writer will just upload movement one into like straight from Piware. There's like an export, and they put in your ensemble code, and boom, it's there. Like it's then it'll push to every student's phone, and it'll say there's an update, and they just download it, and there you go. It's ready to go. So super easy.
Students can start playing around with it before they have that drill accessible to them.
Well, there's a sample drill that we put in the account, so they can start poking around. And
Cool.
then, yeah, anytime you upload drill, you can send it to the account, and they can start playing around with it as well. And you can change the access, so you can make it visible, you can make it not visible. That's it's in the new version of UDB and stuff like that. So, yeah, right from the get-go, they can play with some of the sample drill, get a feel
And
for
then
it.
and then as a director, I can assign names to whatever coordinate person.
You actually don't assign at all. So it's actually all student driven. And there's a very good reason for that. So a student goes into the drill for the first time and they say, hey, I'm B1 or hey, I'm C2 or whatever the case is. And that way it's one, driven by them, but two, our feature tap ID is dependent on who is there. So like say they're B1 today and then you have a drill change and they're B2 tomorrow, you don't want to have to manually do that. They just need to select their new dot and it auto reflects in the entire system for you. So that is like one of those key things. Like we do hear from directors, in the beginning, they're like, hey, I just want to set all that stuff. But it's like, but are you going to update it? So the magic is when the work is done for you in the background. It's not you micromanaging all of those things. It's just it being delivered to you. So it's all run by the student, and so you can select their dot and you can see their picture and their name, and everything like that.
Well, that's great. And Matt, you said it takes slower when you first start. Every single process at the beginning of the year, it takes slower when you start. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that's
Yep.
that's whether you're using paper charts, you have people with the full pages out. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. It takes a little bit of getting used to and all that, but man, they just kind of take off. And one of the other things I think directors sometimes are a little hesitant of is like, do I want my students on their phone during rehearsal? And I love that you guys have kind of created a safeguard to that with airplane mode and such, right? Do you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, so we have created a feature, and there's a set of features called Smart Access, and inside of Smart Access is something called Focus Mode. And so Smart Access basically allows you to invite students or staff members and give them access to specific features. So that's a category of items. So like in Geo, you can say, hey, I want my drum major to be able to take attendance, or hey, I want this person to be able to write, annotate on music and Beam. And in UDB, there's Focus Mode, which says, if these people have access to the internet, they cannot access the drill. So if UDB senses a Wi-Fi connection or a cell connection, we do not let them in the drill file, which means that if they are in the drill file, there's no way that they can be texting or being on another, something else on their phone. Here's what I'll say about this. We spent a lot of time and a lot of money creating that feature, and almost nobody uses it. Just telling you the truth. Um, it is a safeguard and it feels good knowing that you have that there. But look, the reality is, and I'm very comfortable saying this, if you're running an efficient rehearsal, your students don't have time for the phone. And if your students have time for the phone, that's not a UDB issue. It's not a phone issue. That's an education issue. That's a you not running an effective rehearsal. So I get it. There's nuance in there. I
Mhm.
understand there's a lot of nuance in there, but um, what we find, and I'm telling you, we've millions of people have used this, thousands of ensembles, and what we find are students actually go to the opposite end. We see students who are engaged with their phones in rehearsal and are excited to put it down during a water break. It flips, right? So they're carrying it with them, they're referencing it, they're looking at the dot book widget, all those things. And when the water break comes, the last thing that they're trying to do is get on their phone or in the middle of a rehearsal. So if you're running a great rehearsal, you're not going to have an issue. If you want to use the feature, great. Almost no one uses it, but it does feel good knowing you have it there.
Yeah. So I think one of the other things I'm just really excited about is, and my visual staff is excited about, is the new availability to put videos and such into the drill file. Is that something that's coming out soon, or did it already come out and I'm just now hearing about it? Do they
So
come?
we've had links in the file for a little while, but it's now way more present in front of you. So we created a category of features called field notes. So these are things that you can attach directly to the drill chart. So the easiest thing to think about is just drawing on the drill chart. Hey, we've got a new pathway, or you want to circle a group of performers, or you want to highlight groups and say, hey, this is the sequential choreography. This is group one, group two. Normally, when you'd have to just kind of like call that out, or you hope the drill writer put that on the drill chart, you can literally just draw on the drill chart. And every single time you draw a single stroke, it immediately pushes to student phones. So in real time, you draw an arrow, it just shows up on students' phones in real time. So field notes allows you to draw on the drill chart, and then you can also pin what we call a hotspot. So that includes text or links. So it shows up like as a little hotspot on the drill chart. And so say you need to give a note to the mellophones, you drop a little pin, little hotspot right there, and they see a bubble, and they just tap it, and there's their text, or there's a link. So we don't bring video files
Mm,
directly in the app. We're trying not to overload the app with data and all that kind of stuff, but you can link to a video, Google Drive, YouTube, Stride TV, whatever the case is.
gotcha. So like they could just like record a video, of choreo or something like that, put it on YouTube or
Yep.
a Google Drive, and then just drop that link right in there.
Yep, exactly. And it's right on the drill chart, like right next to the section you want that to be there. And so you can do that in real time. You can also give that ability to other members in the ensemble. So, like, something that might be great for you all is you have a staff layer, right? So you have a layer that only is viewable by you and the staff. And that way you can identify problem areas or things that you want to fix. And it's not available to the students. And then you can have a student layer. And you can say, hey, this is what we want to share with the students. So we give you that flexibility. All those conversations that happen, at the tower where you're like, hey, we need to like tweak this thing, we got to push these students in this area. Like you can put that in a safe place where you all can collaborate, and then you can, decide what you want to disseminate to the students.
This is so cool. This is so cool. It brings up so many more questions that I have. I'm going to push pause real quick because I want to hear from some of our sponsors. AZMBA would like to thank our sponsors: Arizona Cardinals Football Club, The Band Shop, Bravgo Media, Encore Gifts, Forte Athletics, Instrumental Music Center, MacPack, Milano's Music, Music Celebrations International, Music for All, Pieces of Flair, Scoreboard Fundraising, Show Dots, Tide Dry Cleaners, and Yamaha. Thank you for supporting AZMBA. So, Matt, I had a question about as a director or as a visual instructor. So, up in the box, you as a director, are you working from an iPad or are you working from your phone? And then similarly, your visual lead, do they typically have when they're teaching an iPad or a phone or drill charts?
Yeah, so I've always just used an iPad up in the box. It's easy. I feel like it's easy for me instead of having the paper notebooks or anything like that. And especially with all these new features and such, and being able to see who's gone and click on names and see, because as Luke said, I can't always see who it is, and especially these old eyes I forget my glasses inside. I'm like, I don't know who that is. So, it's just really helpful to have an iPad. My caption head, Caitlin, she usually stays down on the field with her iPad too. So I'm excited for these field notes and stuff, and being able to just be able to like draw or like highlight and such, and then it'll show up real time. But yeah, I think iPad's kind of the way we've gone with our staff. It's a little bit pricey, but I guess you don't have to use iPad. You can use an Android, I believe, as well. But yeah, some sort of tablet would be good.
And then field techs, do they do it from their phone?
They can, yeah. A lot of our techs will just use their phone and pull it out and and fix drill things, whatever. And I would say that like not everybody it needs an iPad down on the field.
Right.
Just phones for everybody would be good.
I teach
Well,
from my phone, by the way.
okay.
Just to mention, like even if I'm in a rehearsal, I'm teaching with the phone. I treat it like a camera. The best camera is the one that you have on you. Like, and so like my phone's always on me. Yeah, there's sometimes where I use an iPad, but man, just having this thing in my pocket, like knowledge is power, right? So I just try to accelerate like how fast I can get the information. Sometimes it's great to have an iPad, but most of the time I'm just on my phone checking things out.
That's true. Yeah, you don't. I mean, you don't need it for
No.
sure. I like to use it up top, but
Yeah.
a lot of our techs use phones down the field. It's fine.
Oh, that's kind of what I was thinking because not having used this before, we would have staff drill books that would have all the sheets in there, and we would make sure that that's updated. So if we had to check something or they had to dive in there, they would get that book. Now they just pull out their phone. They don't have to come to the sideline. I know there's a lot of directors that still have that hesitancy, and maybe we could talk about some of those points of hesitancy. For me, there's a couple easy ones. I was on that line of I don't want to put a phone in a student's hands. I think they're going to be off task, and something that I was thinking about, I'm like, I don't have a problem with that in the classroom when we're teaching. I think we have that structure, and I know that there's groups that use it that have way less discipline. So I was like, okay, well, that's not a reason not to do it. And then having talked to some other directors about the cost isn't really there. It's less than, like a pair of shoes per person that we can incorporate into our fees. And then at that point, I'm like, well, we're doing this. You know what I mean? It was like a car ride from Phoenix to Casa Grande that I had decided this is something that we're going to do. What are some of the other things that directors may be nervous about that maybe we could talk about?
Yeah, I think you nailed the first two ones. It's the rehearsal thing, and just to speak to the cost. Like, I just want to be really clear. Like, we want this thing to be as affordable as possible, and I think we've done that. I mean, there is no single item that you buy for your marching season that is a smaller cost per use than ours by a long shot. You buy that performance top. Look, I love uniforms. I love kids feeling powerful in those cool new uniforms. But you spend $70 on that and you wear it maybe 12 times, maybe. I mean, you think about the cost per use on that. You're spending $5 to $8 per time that you wear that top. That's kind of wild to me. Um, I love it, right? But that's wild. It's the same thing with shoes. The Friday night football game. Look, we all have to eat, but the moment you buy Chick-fil-A for the band and you're spending $7 to $10 per kid on that Chick-fil-A. So when we look at our costs and we say, on average, people, we outpace social media in August and September of usage. Like people are pulling out UDB and spending multiple hours on it per day. So just speaking to the cost thing, I totally understand that, but when you factor in certainly the paper, the ink, the toner, the time, and then you really compare it against everything else that you're spending for a marching band, it's the cheapest, most affordable thing that you will buy all season by a long shot. But I get it. It's like a new cost for some people, so that's a piece of it. Those are really the two largest things. I will say the other one is more of like a pedagogical thing. There's like an educational hurdle, which is like, hey, I've kind of done it this way my whole life. It's worked really well. We always get our ones. We're always doing well at competitions. And what I will say to that is, we're not a competitive company. We're not promising that you're going to get better results. That's not what we're selling, so to speak. We want the process to be easier and we want it to be more enjoyable. And I really don't want to sound too cheesy here, but like we honestly believe that when it's easier and it's more enjoyable, more students are going to stay involved in music. More students are going to stay involved in the arts. Because when they come to that very first marching band time where they're learning drill and they don't know how to read the coordinate, they don't understand what's going on, they're not having a fun time, there's a greater chance that that student leaves music. There's a greater chance that they're leaving the arts. And so that really is at the core of it. Like if they feel like something was built for them, they feel cool, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel valued. And so I think part of that hesitancy is like the educational thing is like, hey, I'm used to this. And it's like, hey, how about like we meet our students where they're at? I think this is just another tool to do that. And our entire company is full of educators. Like me and my brother, we're educators. Our parents, by the way, are involved in the company. Like if you call in the Ultimate Drill Book, there's a chance you speak to my mom. Um, like seriously, she's one of the ones on the support team. So those kinds of things, like you can call pretty much anyone in the company and they can walk you through, an educational process.
And I love that you brought up that pedagogical thing because don't we ask our students to get out of their comfort zone like all of the time and say, hey, you're going to have to embrace this discomfort? Well, I've always had a firm belief as an educator, I need to get uncomfortable at times too, and if there's something new and you're like, I've always done it this way. Well, yeah, but times change. I mean, you can't teach now the way you taught 20 years ago or 30 years ago. You have to adapt. You have to adjust, and you have to meet your students, like you said, where they are, right? And we live in a world full of technology. So I do wholeheartedly agree that just even having this and learning drill this way makes rehearsals more fun for them and makes them more excited to come back to rehearsals. So.
Yeah,
I,
it's a way for you to elevate your standards too. You say this is the new expectation. Like we do that in the music hall. Like we do that in the concert hall and we look at a score and we have the answers. The students have their individual parts. They have the answers in front of them. But for drill, for the last 50 years, only one person has been responsible for giving them the information. It's like you standing at the front of the classroom with the score and they don't have parts on their stands. And you're saying, hey, this is what you do. We have lived that in drill for 50 years. For some reason, we've been okay with that. Now we're putting parts on the music, on their stands, and they understand when they're supposed to do things, how they're supposed to do things. So we really feel like we're just catching up. Like that's what
Mhm.
we've been trying to get people to do is catch up to what we've done so well in the music hall is give students the resources and the answers.
I mentioned it to my band kind of in passing, and the response I got from them was kind of surprising. There was cheers, they're excited. There's people that I didn't even knew would know about Ultimate Drill Book that were excited, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So we're definitely ready to go. We're excited about that.
Awesome.
So Luke, tell us a little bit. We're going to wrap it up here soon, but you have Arc is brand new, right? Just came out, and it includes some other apps associated with UDB, and they kind of all work together, right? Tell us a little bit, just like bullet points about each of the other apps involved.
Sure. Yeah, I'll keep this relatively quick. Uh, Many years ago, we started the process of building ARC, which actually stands for the Arts Reimagined Collective, and we really are looking at the as ourselves as the intersection or Venn diagram of between arts, business, and technology. And we want to be that company right in the center that's doing everything we can to invest in the arts. And with that, we look at everything that we do. And so we started several years ago with Beam, which is our sheet music app. So we're working to help make the music experience digital. And we're not the first app to go after this, but we're the first app to really work on distribution and making it easier for you to distribute music to your entire ensemble. So you think about you take a little note on the trumpet part. Hey, let's make sure that note shows up on every trumpet part. You make a note on your score in the marching band rehearsal. So instead of hoping that they figure that out, they can just open up the same exact score and they can see that note that you've made. So we're trying to help the collaborative piece of music through Beam and the distribution part of it. Stride TV is our streaming platform for the arts. Um, like I said, we're just band kids, but we also we love YouTube, we love Netflix, but we don't see a platform that's centered around the arts. So we're investing in the arts. We're investing in education. We're investing in arts entertainment content, and it's all safe. So you have, if you're looking to give your students a resource to get going on the marching season, we've got a virtual curriculum led by the world's best educators and choreographers. Students can watch it. They can watch Michael Rosales, Semya Vanderkoff teach core marching principles, things like that. And then Geo is our calendar and attendance platform. So we've had that inside of UDB App Pro for several years, but we've pulled it out so that way anybody any group anywhere can use Geo to organize their rehearsals, check into rehearsals, excuse requests. Instead of Timmy coming into your office saying, "Hey, I'm going to the doctor," hey, he can just write a little message in there. You can excuse him, and now his attendance record is correct from day one. So ARC is about bringing all of those things that we have to touch every single day as an educator, and we bring it under the same umbrella. And ideally, just make your life a bit easier. And you can log into all of those with the same exact account. So, like Matt, you're a director. You have one account and it gets you into UDB, it gets you into Beam, it gets you into Geo, it gets you into Stride TV. All of your preferences, all of your groups travel with you. Like I said earlier, like we grew up watching Apple and Google do this really well, and no one has done this in the education space. No one's done this in the arts space. And so we're capable, therefore we are responsible. We're going after this. We want to make sure that like the people who have changed our lives, my dad, band director, my mom, a teacher, we want to pour everything we can into like making their lives easier. So that's what ARC is. It's the public identity of us trying to make arts the most, supported thing in the education industry by a long shot.
Yeah, and we're super excited at Campo. We're upgrading this year, so
Sweet.
we've been doing UDB for a while, and with the bundling options that you guys have, I was like, we can just bundle these things together and actually save a little bit of money there, which is great. But when I pitched it to my boosters, I was like, a couple of the things that I was super excited about was the Beam app that we're going to be utilizing. I've been uploading music, importing files these last couple of days, super easy, and getting those on the servers and stuff. But I can't wait. We have one of our band dads. It's going to be 3D printing a bunch of the cell phone holders for their for their cell phones while we're in the stands, so that we can just be in the stands, and I can be up front with my iPad and start a little live session and be like, "Hey, we're gonna play Fireball." Click Fireball, and then everybody's music goes to Fireball, and then they don't even have to flip any pages or anything like that. It just goes to their part.
Yeah, and I'll
So
I'll give a quick plug here. We actually do have a hardware division. We haven't really talked too much about this publicly. We did announce some things in February. So we love that you're 3D printing stuff. Do that. You don't have to get our stuff, but we've actually been working for 4 years. We have a small scale manufacturing facility in our studio in Austin, Texas, and we're creating ways for you to attach a technology to your instrument, to your body as well. So I will give a little plug. We've got some really amazing things coming out. For you, Matt, or Martin, or for anyone listening, if you'd like to be a part of the beta program this year, you can reach out to us. We've Like I said, 4 years we've been working. We're patent pending on three separate things. There's some really amazing ways for you to attach your phone and other things to your instrument, because you know that's a huge need, right? You're in the
yeah.
stands. You've got 100 pieces in your flip folder. How do you hold that flip folder? We've been working on that. So I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that. I actually didn't know that you had that, so I'll definitely be hitting you up about that after our call. But there's just so many different like things that we're really excited about with the apps and how they all work together. And like you said, a kid is going to miss rehearsal, or they want to miss rehearsal. They can submit a request via Geo, comes to me. It's not an email anymore where it gets lost or anything. Just comes in, and I can either approve or deny. So there's just so many things like that where the parents, especially my boosters, were like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great. Like that's going to make it so much easier for everybody. They're tired of their kid losing their music too." So it's just some really really cool stuff. So thanks for doing what you do. I mean, you definitely are very educationally based. Love running into you guys at Midwest Clinic every year, just getting a chance to say hey. And I think that also shows it's like you're there to show educators like how you can make their rehearsals better. So just want us to thank you for that and your involvement in the arts.
Well, we appreciate that, and it really is a dream come true. I know we dreamed big a long time ago, and I think it is formed into something even greater. And what I will say about all of this is, look, even if you don't use our stuff, like I think it's a net positive that more people are thinking about this. You see more companies popping up. You see more technology. You see more people trying to help the arts. And I think that's a net positive. So I'm just glad to be a part of that movement. I'm glad the arts are being supported. I mean, when you think about it, there are more people who go through marching band than football. It's a fact, and so the more ways and the more companies and that get involved in this, I think the greater support we're going to have long term. So like thank you for what you're saying. We're excited to be a part of it, and we're just so thankful. I mean, this is a dream that we get to do this, and I still pinch myself, Matt. Like when you're saying like, "Hey, I'm using this, I'm upgrading." Martin, you're like, "Hey, I'm gonna try it." Like, please know like how impactful that is to us. Like it's still exciting when a new band comes on board and says they want to use our stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like we really are just like the luckiest band kids. So I can't thank you all enough for allowing us to be a part of what you all do. And we're really excited to support you guys this year, in a lot of different ways and band directors too.
Yeah, well, we have Elevate coming up on August 22nd. That's presented by Cut Time. And you guys are going to be back again this year. Like we had you out last year. One of the sessions that you ran was incredible and just had like marching techniques and like rehearsal techniques. And so many of our directors walked away from Elevate last year saying, I have many new strategies that I'm going to be using tomorrow in rehearsal. And so that was really, really great. And so you guys are going to be back again this year, involved running a session. So for all the band directors that are in Arizona, make sure that you pencil in August 22nd for that, and make sure you come check it out. It's going to be really, really fun and educational, and I think you're going to get a lot out of it. UDB also helps provide a fun happy hour afterwards for everybody to just kind of hang out and chat together, socialize. We really want to get everybody not just together to learn, but together to collaborate and chat and have fun. And in the middle of August when it's hot and band kind of sucks, we get a chance to hang out together.
Well, as a fellow low brasser, happy hour is like one of the most important
Yeah,
parts of the day. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
yeah.
So yeah, like we're excited about that.
You got to have your valve oil, right? That's the
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and then Luke, you guys are going to be helping us this year in a new way with our hospitality tents at regional championships and class championships. So directors, when you guys come out to that, UDB is going to be sponsoring those hospitality tents, and you'll have I think some swag you were talking about and things like that. So tell us what to expect for that.
Yeah, we just wanted to support what you all are doing and support the band boosters. We know that even you all can't put on the shows without the support of those band programs and those stadiums and those schools. And so, this is just a way for us to say, hey, we'll provide a couple little resources to help maybe elevate what's going on there. And yeah, get some good snacks. But we're going to be sending out a bunch of UDB swag. So get your hat, get your sunglasses, get your lanyard. Um, I mean, we just want you to feel cool, honestly. We just want you to feel supported. We're like big sports fans, us at the company, and like we think about all the things that like make people feel really cool. When you go out to something like band directors should feel cool, students should feel cool, band boosters should feel cool. And I know they are cool, but we just want to be a resource that says like, hey, someone really cares and values what you're doing. So come get a hat, come get some swag, come get some cookies, whatever. We're just going to try to make that Saturday feel a little bit cooler for you.
Yeah. Speaking of someone who's cool, Martin, this was awesome, right? Like this was like
Absolutely.
such a fun conversation. Thanks for collaborating with us and making this all happen.
Well, yeah, and I'm learning. This is new for me. So I've just been soaking all this in and thinking of ways that I'm going to be able to use this in our program. And like I said, being efficient is kind of like an important piece for me. So I like that. Do you have any shout outs that you'd like to give to anybody prior to us finishing up our conversation?
Well, shout out to you all first. I really appreciate it. Both of you for inviting us and everyone in the circuit, for you participating and pushing the entire activity forward. Thank you for that. I will shout out our entire team. We have an incredible team at ARC. Me and my brother co-founded the company, but we're now over 40 full time with the company now. And I only mention that because it's important to know that it's not just me or it's not just my brother. There's an incredible team of people who are working nonstop to make sure that you all have what you need. So I just have to shout out our team. I mean, our director of product management, he was the drum major, Santa Clara Vanguard. Our director of legal operations, he marched drum corps for a million years. Our director of manufacturing, he's a band kid. He was in the Kansas City Chiefs drum line. I mean, we are just band kids living out our dream. So I have to send a special shout out to them and an entire developer team who have worked around the clock to make sure that all of this new stuff gets released. There's an army of people behind us, and we are so thankful for them. And just know that like when you're contacting Ultimate Drill Book or you're contacting us, it's there's a group of people who are working really hard and believe in this thing, and they believe in you all. So big shout out to them.
Well, I love the passion that you bring to the arts for sure. To all of our listeners, remember August 22nd is the date you want to have in your calendar for you and your staff and your boosters. We have a lot of sessions that are going to be happening there. And as always, you can get a hold of us at podcast@azmba.org. Luke, thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Luke.